Hi, y'all. It's Bridget Cutshaw with Real Things Living. Today, my guest is Mike Rucker, and Mike is the Chief Digital Officer at Active Wellness, and he's also a fun expert. Can you say hi, Mike?
Hey, how's it going? Good to be back. Mine is your
Yes,
first repeat.
yes. He's one of my repeats, and I started this podcast last year, and Michael, well, I'm sorry, I'm saying Michael. Mike didn't have
Oh, Mike's
any
fine.
hesitation. He didn't hesitate to jump in. Last year was my first year, and like everything, we have to learn and adjust and adapt. And we met through a mastermind that we were part of. Michael, I keep saying Michael. I'm sorry.
It's
He is
fine.
he is has a great attitude, and he likes to point out that we need to have more fun. And I know that. And can you explain what brought you down that path, Mike?
Yeah. So I've been academically studied positive psychology for some time. And so the crux of sort of what I'm bringing to the argument is this idea that chasing happiness is a bit foolhardy, but that we still have agency to create moments of joy in our life. Um, so these opportunities for fun, if we're more mindful about, interjecting, mindset, sort of scheduling, and having a bias towards fun, we can tend to index, a life full of joyful memories rather than, sort of endlessly chasing our tail of wondering how we can be happy.
Right. It's to me, it's like, yeah, definitely remind you to be in the moment. And I think that's a lot of people don't want to do that. They have all this other stuff for the future, but you should have some short-term um, goals too, right?
Yeah, and I think it's, this is a tough year for that message, right? Like
Yes.
certainly I think there, at the onset, there was some toxic positivity of like, um, and that's kind of, to the point of my message too, is that sometimes there are circumstances that just aren't fun. And this certainly has been one of the most extended periods in my lifetime where that is the case. And so this idea that we have to find happiness in the fact that, a lot of us are parents with kids at home, we're being asked to shoulder extra work because, if you're lucky enough to have a job, it also means that, you're in a company with a lot less resources. And it's just an overall stressful time. And so this idea, when someone's overtly a Pollyanna, that can be, that can have a negative impact, because one of the things that I have found, in delving into the research is this, if there's a huge disconnect, or this dissonance between what you think you ought to be or might be, being prescribed, like you need resounding resilience during this period. And if you don't have it for, in some regard, you're a failure or whatever, then all of a sudden you'll start to identify with that, because there's this, ideal that's unrealistic, that, that during a pandemic you should be thriving. And, and when you're not, but you perceive that others are, it can actually make you more miserable. It can be counterproductive. And so, it's an interesting time for my message, because I'm not necessarily saying that in, this immense amount of stress that we have, that you need to squeeze out fun in every moment, which, might be appropriate if you, were in sort of a healthy space where you weren't looking at necessarily as a coping mechanism, but you were trying to savor in things that you were already doing. Like now, if you're the type of person that, when it comes to fight or flight, really would rather, your style is more flight, that's neither good or bad, right? It's just a style, like introversion or extroversion. Then this idea that you need to fight every moment, that can be exhausting for those type of people that are like,
Right.
in the sense of danger, like, want to button down the hatches and really reserve their energy.
That's a really good point. And that's one thing that I think I'm going to recommend to people is this year, what did you kind of learn from it? I think I used to talk about all, after the cancer and stuff, travel, exploring. Well, I've learned to explore my backyard and appreciate it more, to be honest with you. Right?
Yeah, I think there's, that's interesting. Those of us that have either, through, an unfortunate experience with a loved one, or, a personal experience like yourself, have realized that our time is finite, are given this gift of like, okay, but there are going to be these periods where, that's just not plausible. And
Right.
so, and unfortunately, we're in one of those now. And so, like, what can you make of it? And again, maybe if you're one of the type of people that is more, find safety and sort of, within, then you can take pause, like it's okay, and to take things off your plate rather than add them,
That's good.
might be, yeah, that might actually create more space for more joyful moments, because you don't feel this burden of having to like fill every hour with, some sort of crisis control, as it were.
Right. And I'm the different in a way only because my kids are adults now. So I don't, I should call them kids. My children are adults, and you're in a situation where you have younger kids, and it is really stressful on parents. And I worry about the kids in the future because of this, because of the lack of interaction. I think that's important too. In-person interaction. I learned a lot in school because of that, I think. And it's just hard on
Sure.
teachers. It's everything is hard.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I think that's fundamental, no matter where you lie on, any sort of spectrum, is that we are social animals, and so
All right.
pro-social behavior, uh, is something that feeds into our well-being, and that's really difficult right now, right? I know this week, I don't know when this is going to air, but the week that we're recording it is Thanksgiving, and so,
Right.
this is going to be a very stressful time, for a lot of folks. I imagine for some introverts, it's actually a little blessing in disguise. Not
Exactly.
necessarily, and I'll qualify if there are any introverts out there. I understand that introversion doesn't necessarily mean you don't like to be around people, but I think there's the family dynamic, whether you are an introvert or extrovert, sometimes can be exhausting, during Thanksgiving.
I think,
But nonetheless,
yeah, I was just gonna agree with you on that. It doesn't matter if you're introvert or extrovert. It's just, we're just gonna have to change for this year. And like you said, Thanksgiving is two or 3 days away.
yeah, and I think, just not having the choice is going to affect most people. Another thing, that really helps support our well-being is the autonomy to make our own choices, and right now that's been taken away from us, and so, I think that it makes it challenging.
It is, and I've also read too that more entrepreneurs are gonna pop up out of this situation, probably because they're being laid off. I don't know. I don't remember exactly where I read that, but I can share with you that my sales for this year have dropped quite a bit compared to 2019. And it's because of the clients. And they have to
Sure.
figure out what they're going to do. And I'm just thankful I still have some clients. But, and at the same time, I was going to quit doing this podcast. And yeah, really, to be honest with you, because I'm like, oh, I need to get, just to do something else. But then I'm realizing I'm kind of, like I said, I'm a people person. So I'm getting to see people's faces and, and talk. And we're all dealing with this differently. My son graduated college and all this mess. And,
Wow.
uh-huh.
Well,
So the
congratulations.
traditional stuff,
Regardless of where we're at, that's a pretty big milestone.
I'm sorry.
I was saying congratulations to get,
Yes.
to have it,
But they didn't have the traditional ceremony stuff. And he's like, I don't care. And I said, you're right. You finished. And
yeah.
that's,
Was it still done through Zoom?
yeah, he got a biology degree. So he's got doing some training and some other stuff. So he, he likes to help people. Well, he was in the vet tech for a while. He loved animals, but now he wants to go help people. So he'll be in the healthcare field. Can't even say that right. Healthcare field. So I think that is a good area to be in. So he's he'll be okay, right? We all will be. I mean, that's kind of every moment is not 100% positive for everybody or me, but
Sure.
I try to just pause, like you said, just pause and take some things off your plate. I like that point. That's important. Good advice for
Yeah, I
everybody.
think that's one thing that we don't, you know, honor enough is the fact that not only do we have the agency to do things, and create our own experiences, a lot of times, we forget that we also have the agency to stop doing things that might not be contributing to, or worse, taking away from our well-being or livelihood, or what brings us joy. And so I think if there has been some silver linings in 2020, a lot of people have come to grips with things that were toxic, because it really put a spotlight on,
Right.
because if they were part of your habitual routine, there was no way to sort of balance them out with things outside of that. And so taking stock of processes and heuristics and things of that nature that aren't helpful, this is a good year to sort of purge the bad, as it were, and hopefully just leave it
I like
in
that.
2000
Right. And
late.
that's, we definitely need to take a step back, right, and look well what we can. And that's kind of why we're kind of, a lot of us have been forced to do that. And but I see that as in a good way. Like you said, it's a, you're in these bad habits, you're in this cycle, and you continue and continue, and then you have to stop. And it's, we don't know what's going to happen in 2021. I can't even say it. 2021. I am having problems talking this morning. I've not been drinking. It's getting too much caffeine, maybe. But I just like I said, mentioned earlier, I do worry about people who don't have access to like the internet or things like that. I worry about those kind of people. And I realize that I have a lot. I'm not privileged at all, but I don't think I am, but I have a lot more than other people. And I do appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I think it's, there's uh, a lot to be grateful for. There's, at least going into 2021, and I think it's brought a lot of people together. Certainly also created some big fissures. So we have a lot to work to do. It's an interesting time. I think, the people that want to sort of move forward, there isn't a good opportunity, because when there's this much sort of disruption in the air, there's, new ideas can blossom. So that's another silver lining, where, it's
Right.
harder to change the status quo if everything's working. Like if there are things where you feel like you could make an impact, and you don't feel like you've been able to, get the momentum that you've wanted in prior times, this is a really good opportunity for that, because people are hungry to just do something. Um, so, I think looking to 2021, and kind of trying to figure out, where you want to make your mark, and kind of looking forward, that's a good way to sort of be resilient in this time, especially now that we know, a potential vaccine is coming. There's going to be a lot of opportunity. Unfortunately, some of it was, is being birthed out of a lot of strife. To your point, even though a lot of entrepreneurs are going to emerge, a lot of entrepreneurs, from this era have gotten dredged, especially in my industry.
Right.
You've seen a lot of studios, single site modalities like, yoga and Pilates and bar go by the wayside, because they weren't, they didn't have the type of economic scale that could have weathered, a storm that lasted an entire year. So I think, there are going to be these big fissures and potholes, of damage. And so if you're ready to get to work, there's going to be a lot of opportunity. I'm not familiar with the piece that you cited, but I imagine, yeah, you're going to see a lot of neat stuff come, because people are going to be hungry to get working again.
I think um, Michael Hyatt has a new book coming out, and it says entrepreneurs are going to save the world, or something like that's the title of it. Entrepreneurs will save the world. I kind of like that. We do, we can't rely on anybody else. We really, I'm saying, we've gotten to where we rely too much on other people, and we do have to do the hard work. And
Yeah.
this is a good lesson. Hopefully that made sense. And so you had mentioned the gyms and things like that are closing. Do you know how long they're gonna be closed again, or
No, that's been the trouble. Like, we started to open locations back up, and now with the second surge, we're having to close them all back down again. So I think that's what's been really challenging during this time. It's just that ambiguity. We tend to
right?
be creatures of habit. And so one of the neat things is that we do, when things are breaking our way, we do like these novel experiences, right? A lot of what I've studied is this opportunity to create wonder and awe in your life.
Right.
But when it's more shock and awe.
Right.
That's tend to get fairly fatigued, and I think that's where people are right now. I'm certainly empathetic to the fact that people thought that the world was opening up again, and now to see it closed, it's creating some problems, knowing that we're probably still 90 days away from things getting better. So, the best suggestion I have is, looking to the loved ones that you have, nearby, because, that's what we've been told to do. And then finding opportunities to sort of create those bonds in a way that, feels authentic to everyone. Because that's, really the best we can do at this time. For us, it's looking at how can we make Thanksgiving as fun as possible in these trying times. So we bought some extra games. We're, giving planning in between times so that it doesn't feel like there's this sort of itinerary, and then
Right.
trying to bring loved ones through virtual conferencing, because it's the best we have right now.
Well,
But
that's cool.
to say that that's like a barrel of monkeys would be a fabrication, right? Like, the last thing I want to do is be unauthentic and indicate like, yeah, there's some secret recipe where you can make it as fun as a carnival ride. Like, that's just not true right now, because
Right.
we're most people are in the purple or red zone, and need to stay safe.
That's true. And I think I live in the state of Georgia, and it's starting to become a red zone again. And you live in North Carolina, and I don't remember what the map is for you.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
red
So
there.
I'm at here. We're seeing spikes, and we're a college
Yeah.
county, so there's big concerns that students are going to travel home for the holidays and then either bring COVID with them or bring it back. That seems to be the main way things are spreading right now. It's people in transit, so we're trying to do our part by hunkering down.
Correct. We need, especially I think Christmas too, or it's not just Thanksgiving. We're gonna have to do it for Christmas as well. Because
Yeah,
that's it's gonna be even colder in that time frame, right? And more people are gonna be
right.
inside. It's I know it's just a crazy time, and I recommend to those listening, I'm gonna not just write your thoughts down in a journal, but maybe make a video to your future self of what you learned this year. I think make it that makes it kind of fun, maybe. Um, it could be sad or not. I notice I've been listening just like some new songs. Actually, times like these. It's not a new song. It was out by the Foo Fighters a long time ago. It's become popular
Yeah, it's a
again.
good song.
Yeah, it is. And I'm listening to the lyrics more, right? Because even though I talk about being in the moment, but sometimes you're not when you listen to music. And I recommend to listen times like these by Foo Fighters. He's got a, I think Dave Grohl has a, I'm just getting off tangent here because it
No,
makes
it's
me
all right.
happy to listen to his music, and he's a part
Sure.
of the last grunge rockers, right? And he he has a an acoustic version of it, and which I really like
It's a
that. And
beautiful.
it that's something that makes me happy, right? Listening to certain, I've noticed I've been doing that more, which is good. And right,
One
so
of the things. Have you seen his drum battle with the young drummer from the UK?
oh, I don't think I saw him with another singer who's dressed like Kiss. I think that's who it was, but I haven't seen the drum battle. I need to go check that out.
Oh my goodness, it will make you smile from ear to ear. It's so amazing. He has a drum battle with I guess she was already kind of like a YouTube star in the making. She's um, a preteen out of the UK that's just this amazing drummer. And so she challenged him to a drum off, and he accepted, and they went back and forth, and
That is so awesome.
it's you gotta check it out. Yeah,
I'll check it
just
out. And
Google drum battle.
okay, jump out. And I just something about him, his personality. I think that's why people like him, because he in a way it comes across as positive, right? And he, even though he's a grunge rocker, he's trying to help other people right now in any way he can. And that's kind of what we need to do. Is I think it's important to reach out and help others in some shape or form. And I donated a couple of turkeys, for people who can't afford to buy a turkey. I mean, that just, doesn't sound like a big deal, but it could be. Some people want to eat a turkey, but they can't afford it. Um, Another thing I want to ask you, working on a book, and it's going to be published, you said, at the end of next year. Can you give me an update on that? What's happening with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's going really well. I think for me, kind of practicing what I preach, finding what I can do in these trying times. So I really enjoy writing. Uh, Funny enough, the book is about the science of fun. And so it's been an interesting year to, sort of finalize the manuscript in a year that's absolutely not been that fun at all. But it's coming together well. And so should be, ready for kind of the final revision of the rough manuscript by the end of the year, and then submit it to the publisher in May, and then hopefully it will come out by the end of 2021.
Well, that's
The
cool.
gist of the book is, yeah, a lot of strategies, tactics, and sort of underlying science of why we should have more fun and how to implement, sort of daily routines and ways of thinking, mindset changes and schedule organization and, tactics and strategies applied to various elements of most of our lives, parenting, work, aging, and things of that nature, and how to make each one of those a little bit more fun along the way.
Yeah, aging's fun. Sorry, I was just laughing about it because I'm now in my mid-50s, which is I like, how did this happen? Right? And that's
I know, I feel like on that one.
right,
There's good and bad.
right, good and bad. And I think we should definitely, I think, respect, I should say respect, but elderly people, because they have so much experience and things that they've learned that they can share with other people. I don't know what if you're using any kind of examples in your book specifically with other people, or I didn't know if that was part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the gentlemen that I'm following right now that has some really good, is doing really good work in this area is Chip Connolly. Are you familiar with him?
I've heard of
He's
it. Yeah.
the CEO, prior CEO of Joy to Beef, but now he primarily writes. And he's just expressing, the fact that it is kind of a great opportunity to really hone in on what you really enjoy, because a lot of folks, as they reach retirement age or are retired, have more autonomy in what they can do and are allowed, especially if their kids have left the nest, are allowed to explore things that they might not have when they didn't have as much time. And then to your point, this idea that there's a lot of wisdom to be gleaned. And so especially as boomers kind of take over the world, as it were, there's this ripe opportunity to, have a two-way relationship between folks that are aging well and those that are, looking for aspiration and things of that nature. So, I think the main thing is if you've been in a habitual routine your entire life, looking for opportunities to sort of add some life experience. Because one thing we do know, especially once you get to your 70s or 80s, that, if your life was truly based on routine, your brain starts to store those memories sort of as like one finite point. And so to the extent that you can go out and have more fun, you sort of dilate time, and as you'll have more to relish, especially as you start to slow down. So
That's true. I really like that. That's really kind of cool. So one last question for you. What is the I know we've talked a lot of different subjects here on 2020, but what is the biggest takeaway for you personally that you want to share with others?
Yeah, I think circling back, it's, understanding that it doesn't have to all happen, right? I think for me, realizing that instead of just continually adding things on to my 168 hours, that, creating the space for good things to happen is just as important as, trying to build to-do lists and Gantt charts and, milestone maps and things of that nature. Like, it might almost behoove you to figure out what's not working first, and kind of clearing the space, so that you have an ample metaphorical workshop, to get the thing done that you want to get done. It also helps you hone on what's important, I think, especially if you're A-type. It's so it can almost be soothing to look at the next goal, because it means you don't have to concentrate on the goal at hand. So that's another thing, that taking stuff away that's not necessarily contributing to your well-being, or simply just sort of under the microscope, a waste of time. You can remove those things, and it makes the goals that you really want to achieve that much more clear. So yeah, that's my big takeaway, because I had never really slowed down, and we've all kind of been forced to do that. And once you take that pause, you do have to be mindful of, like, okay, well, now I'm sort of forced to face my day to day, and there's some real problems in here that I was able to sort of escape, because I had such a busy life, but now I wasn't able to escape them. And so, addressing those problems, either by remediating whatever the issue was, or just simply removing that element, has been super helpful.
I just think that what you just said is like you're taking a problem and making it an opportunity, maybe, right? Kind of.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but also, I would say removing a problem so that I can manifest opportunities,
That's good.
Not so much in.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Because I think one of the things that's a potential hazard in that way of thinking, right, is that you still have the problem. Like, a lot of times, it's a tired analogy, but there is something to be said about lipstick on a pig, right? So, like, this idea that you can make lemons out of lemonade, like, there's still an element of lemons in there, right? So what happens if you just take away the lemons,
That was one of my mom's favorite quotes. She told me growing up all the time. Got lemons, make lemonade, or life gives you lemons. That's what she said. Make lemonade at it. My mom had she's oh my, we all have some crazy moments, but she has some crazy stuff too. And that was her go-to word. Maybe that's why I think of it that way. But, I'm just grateful my mom's still here. Right. It's just amazing that, the things I've reflected on, what you learn from our parents. Because like you said, I was always go, 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 go. And I was taught or told, you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to, go, 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 go. But I like the fact that we had to slow down a little bit. And because we didn't have a choice, but it was good. That's my takeaway from all this.
Yeah. We'll see how much sticks. I mean, certainly, like, from an environmental standpoint, we saw the benefits of things slowing down, right?
Yes.
Like, you saw all of these interesting KPIs actually get better, that, where had that not happened, the argument could be like, this isn't possible. But we proved that a lot of things are possible. And so that's at a global scale, but at an individual scale, that same sort of logic could be applied, right? Like, oh, you didn't think, that you could handle X, Y, or Z. Well, you now did. Now let's hope that you don't have to do that again, because a lot of us are overstressed. But we have kind of, built this capacity to handle that. And so hopefully within that renewed capacity, we will be able to find resilience once things, get back to normal.
I really think your information is very insightful for everybody. And that's why I like talking to you, because you have deep thoughts, and good advice for everybody.
Well, I appreciate having.
Where else can people learn more about you, Michael? Where can we send them to?
Yeah, so my website's michaelrucker.com, and I've been playing a lot on Instagram at the Wonder of Fun.
Okay,
And the
wonderful.
book coming out in 2021 is called The Fun Habit, and it will be published by Simon and Schuster.
The Fun Habit. And what I do, everybody, I will add, the links in the description for this episode. And I appreciate your time, Michael, and we're definitely going to stay in touch.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing. You've got some things going yourself on Instagram, right? With authors coming in
Yeah,
2021.
I have some stuff. I'm doing the podcast. I'm doing clips on put them on YouTube and on LinkedIn, and I'm going to be part of a mastermind coming up for 2021 to help me get myself focused on that. Make sure the right, I like to write too, and I want feedback from others. I didn't mention this earlier, but I just came up with a coloring journal during all this.
Oh, that's cool.
Right, everybody's come to me and how stressed they are, and so I thought it'd be a good idea. On one page be a journal. You write your thoughts down. The other side, an image that you color. You can write your thoughts down after you color it, or vice versa. And the images are of nature and animals because that's what I like. That's what calms Bridget down. So I'm getting some feedback. Some teachers are very interested and have a version for them, but they want it more like a planner rather than just a journal. But I won't, if I decide to go that route, I won't just put specific dates in there. You can have a layout of the month, but they're a planner for teachers is going to be a little different than regular people. But they are, I really appreciate what teachers do. And just, they do a lot, even though they just depends on what school district you're in, but it's just crazy what grade they teach. So I
can only imagine the burden, right now.
My sister teaches 7th grade. You can imagine those are very hormonal age. And she does, I think, they don't call it English anymore, but writing and stuff like that. She does that, and social studies is what they call it. So they had some issues, which I think is funny. I'll share real quickly. When Zoom first came out, they had lots of problems with Zoom because of the security and stuff. So people were hacking it and getting in, using kids' IDs and stuff like that, cursing, right? So they had to, break that down. So it's just amazing the stuff that they're having to deal with that, and they can't blame the kids because someone else kind of got their login. And my sister, it's funny, but it's sad at the same time. She's got to laugh about it, right?
Yeah.
But it's stressful because what she teaches, she's got to do a lot. You can't just like look at it if a writing class. She has to go through and read it very carefully and give them some proper feedback. So I think she does that for 7th and 8th graders. But it's just tough on the whole school, right? So so that's why I help a lot. And sometimes I haven't gone this year, obviously, but I go and speak to the classes, sometimes the 8th graders who want to learn about what it's like to be an entrepreneur. They want to learn that. So I just, it just makes the kids happy to have, me in there because my sister is one of the popular teachers. So that helps. She used to be a, I don't know, I shouldn't say drama teacher. So she knows how to act when she needs to. And that comes in handy, right, for teaching. I'm sorry,
That's
I'm just
cool.
blabbing here. I really appreciate your time, Michael, and have a great rest of the day, everybody.